Welcome to my garden, GinGee GoodEarth. Today we're going to do a reading on a universal history of the United States of America and also Kennedy, Wit and Wisdom. And before I begin this presentation, this is the GinGee GoodEarth production, part 12, Roman numeral 7, July 3rd, 2020. I like to show you my garden lemon thyme. We'll put that there. And it's very fragrant. And I want to begin today's program in celebration of the 4th of July weekend. And thank you to all the veterans who have served our country and all the American citizens who encourage civil liberties, freedom, and liberty, and justice for all. So let's begin on Roman numeral 7, on human dignity, the wit and wisdom of John F. Kennedy. Justice cannot wait for too many meetings. It cannot wait for the action of the Congress or the courts. We face a moment of moral and constitutional crisis, and men of generosity and vision must make themselves heard in every section of this country. I do not say that all men are equal in their ability, their character, or their motivations, but I say that should be equal in their chance to develop their character, their motivation, and their ability. Their motivation and their ability. They should be given a fair chance to develop all the talents which they have, which is a basic assumption and presumption of this democracy of ours. June 9th, 1963. America stands for progress in human rights as well as economic affairs, and a strong America requires the assurance of full and equal rights to all citizens of race of any color. As we approach the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, let the acts of every branch of government and every citizen portray, and righteousness does exalt a nation. We have the right to expect that the Negro community will be responsible, will uphold the law, but they have a right to expect the law will be fair, that the Constitution will be colorblind. June 11th, 1963. How you like that statue of the chained humanity? I don't understand why that statue is situated in a Pennsylvania park. Now that to me represents chained humanity, and every time I jog by it or walk by it, I feel very disheartened by looking at the misery of chained humanity. So let's get back to the book, The Wit and Wisdom of John F. Kennedy. We have a right to expect that the Negro community will be responsible, will uphold the law, but they have a right to expect the law will be fair, that the Constitution will be colorblind. June 11th, 1963. I guess I wanted to mention that color coding is wrong, and it's a terrible system. And we shouldn't use color adjectives to describe people because it's a misnomer. People are not a specific color. They're hues and polka dotted and not true skin colors of the colors of the crayons, for instance. Color coding is wrong. I never look at people through a color code. So lift yourselves up in spirit and mind and free yourselves of calling other people color adjectives. Don't perpetuate something that's a misnomer or false. So I'd like to just finish that for that part. We'll finish the book, and I will review every Roman numeral chapter. There's 7 chapters. And the next thing I'd like to do is go over a gin daisy. And this is from the Stouffer's restaurant book on how to make beverages with distilled spirits. So daisies, everything's coming up daisies, and there's many videos on daisies. There's more dresses made with the daisy pattern, and everything is coming up with daisies. And we do like daisies. They're beautiful florals, and there's a lot of information on daisies, and you can look that up on the Wikipedia or horticulture internet. There are daisies, and their variety is limited only to your ingenuity. For you can use whiskey, sherry, port, Madeira, apple brandy, or rum as a substitute for the gin in this basic recipe. 2 half bar spoon powdered sugar, add 1/4 ounce raspberry syrup, which you can make that homemade, 1/3 ounce of blackberry brandy, 1/2 ounce lime juice, and 1 1/4 ounces of gin. Shake with cracked ice and strain into a fizz goblet. Number 3, add cubed or cracked ice and decorative with a half slice of orange and 1 cherry. Gin daisy from the Stouffer's book on restaurant management. And I want to go ahead and I'm going to read as much as I can on a universal history of the United States of America. And again, this is a historical novel, and it dates on the history writings from 1450 through 1830. It is a leather-bound book, and it was owned by a veteran, an Army veteran. And my work with the Pittsburgh Victorian Gibson girls in Civil War reenactment, and Philippi, West Virginia, was the site of the very first Civil War battle. And it's a beautiful, old-fashioned Civil War historic town, and they have a great trout stream. So if you ever go to Philippi, West Virginia, go fishing for the trout, because they're 2 pounds and larger. They're very nice trout. So I'm going to backtrack to page 89, and I do a lot of backtracking because I'm also learning. I want to memorize the book, so a good way to do that is to reread the chapters and to encourage.
Tomorrow never comes. Today is all we have. So savor every minute on this stage called life, and celebrate the day as we welcome the Nose Sisters.
Yeah, I was part of the Nose Sisters. I was Rose Nose, and there was Nabillion Nose, and we did a special program on Pittsburgh Community TV on recycling, renewing, and restoring for success. We actually was an actual play written. And so I'm going to continue on. As you can see, we have the Vietnam War Veterans Monument there at Twin Lakes Park. And so when the speaker in the background was working with his poetry on Yesterday Is All We Have and so forth, I thought, well, just let that play. I hope you can hear it in the background. And so I do want to start, and again, none of my work is edited or script. I basically do a compendium of the things I have collected to review on my GinGee GoodEarth channel. Again, I encourage you to go back to the very beginning of my GinGee GoodEarth videos and review my objectives and enjoy at the same time. And I do set up the props, and today I have, I'll do a little panning, but today I have hydrangea on my set that was fresh picked. And again, like most people, I'm celebrating the 4th of July weekend. And I'm going to go to outdoor fireworks wherever I can. And again, we have to practice social distancing, so you're supposed to wear your mask even outside. And again, this is the set that I have created for today. And I will move forward, but I do want to say something about the background music, because I'll play this again. I do a lot of things over and over and over. And what you hear in the background, the horse's hooves, and I'm a horse show judge. What I use, that's my work with the walnut knots from an actual tree, and I clank the knots back and forth, as you can hear in the background. So without further ado, page 89, A Universal History of the United States of America. The prince at home and his officers abroad, like greedy harpies, preyed upon the people without control. Randolph was not ashamed to make his boast in his letters with respect to Governor Andros and his council that there were an arbitrary as the Great Turk. All New England groaned under their oppression. The heaviest share of it, however, fell upon the inhabitants of Massachusetts and New Plymouth. Connecticut had been less obnoxious to government than Massachusetts, and as it was further removed from the seat of government, was less under the notice and influence of these oppressors. Governor Trout was a father to the people and felt for them. In their distressed circumstances, the other gentlemen who were of the council and had the principal management of affairs in Connecticut were men of principle, lovers of justice, and of their fellow subjects. They took advantage of Sir Edmund's first instructions, and as far as they possibly could, consistently with the new regulations, governed the colony according to the former laws and customs. The people were patient and peaceable, though in great fear and despondency. They were no strangers to what was transacted in the neighboring colonies, and expected soon fully to share with them in all their miseries. Here's a footnote I want to read. Sir Edmund, with all his vigilance, could not prevent the carrying over of complaints against him. Mr. Increase Mather got on board a ship and sailed to England for this very purpose, and delivered the complaints, which he carried over into His Majesty's hands. Back to page 90. It was generally believed that the Andros was a papist, that he had employed the Indians to ravage the frontiers and had supplied them with the ammunition, and that he was making preparations to deliver the country into the hands of the French. We might have spoken French in America, but Canada speaks French. All the motives to great actions, to industry, economy, enterprise, wealth, and population were in a manner annihilated. A general inactivity and languishment pervaded the whole public body. Liberty, property, and everything which ought to be dear to men every day grew more and more insecure. So America, we're trying to win back America as a great nation, and I know that I'm feeling more insecure about what has gone on in past years, and I was especially affected in the 90s when our senior leadership decided to bring hospital management companies in charge of our local community hospitals. And that ruined many, many careers for many healthcare workers. And now we have the system that we have today. But a lot of it was ruined already in the 90s by having hospital management companies umbrella hospitals of many cities. And I worked at the food bank in McKeesport when McKeesport Hospital was closed, and the U.S. steel workers were living under the bridges on the Allegheny, Monongahela, Ohio rivers because they were homeless. And that was quite a time. And again, the effect of having senior leaders who do not work in hospitals make decisions about community health care. So please be aware of what is going on in your health care systems, what's going on with the National Institutes of Health, the Food and Drug Administration, the Joint Commission on the Accreditation of Hospitals. These are industries and departments of hospital from the top administrators deciding, how we are to be managed in our health care. So again, most hospitals were started on nickels and dimes and pennies because the communities wanted better quality health care. And so from hospital houses, they established hospital buildings and emergency cares and so forth. And again, this was all started by community, and that's why community hospitals were a great feat and a great asset to every community to have good quality health care. So yes, I feel insecure. What's going on today is if you are admitted to the hospital, you have 1 day admission, 2 day care, and 3 day go home. And there is no follow-up of, bringing the highest standards of care to the people of the citizens of America. So we should all be greatly concerned for our safety and health in America. Getting back to the story, liberty, property, and everything which ought to be dear to men every day grew more and more insecure. The colonies were in a state of general despondency. With